Hello, my name's Ian Lewins. I'm one of the Children's Emergency Department consultants here in Derby, and I'm also part of the GREATIX team here in Derby. And in this short video, I'd just like to introduce you to the concept of GREATIX and how it's going to operate within our trust. I'm part of a team based in the Emergency Department that consists currently of Dr Andy Tabner, Dr Graham Johnson, Miss Susie Hewitt and myself. And GREATIX is going to be the Derby take on the concept of something that you may have heard about called learning from excellence. And this originated with a guy called Adrian Plunkett, who's a PICU consultant based in the West Midlands. And what he did was think about safety and how we learn from that. We're all very familiar with IR1s and GREATIXs, and we would not dispute the fact that they remain very important. However, for many people are often seen as punitive. I'm sure we're all familiar with the phrase, if you don't come and do this, I'll fill in an IR1 about you. And actually what he wanted to think about was, what do we actually learn from IR1s and GREATIXs? And more importantly, he wanted to think about, well, what happens when things go right? Because IR1s and GREATIXs capture a very small number of things that go wrong, and that's important. But actually a lot of the things that we do go right and go well, and how do we learn from that? So he set up the idea of having, instead of an IR1, having an IR2, and instead of a GREATIX, having something called a GREATIX. And the idea behind these was a formal way of recognising and acknowledging excellence. But more importantly, in addition to it recognising that and being a pat on the back, if you like, how do we actually learn from that excellence? What is it about that that makes that piece of care excellent? And actually, are there ways that we can disseminate that learning and take that piece of excellence and transfer it to other departments within the trust? An example that he gives that's relevant to my practice is that of a child who was an autistic little boy who needed an MRI scan. And unfortunately the little boy got to the scanner and completely lost it, wouldn't sit anywhere near the scanner, and the scanner had to be abandoned, which is obviously a missed-timed slot, which costs. So what happened subsequent to that was one of the play team got involved with the family, got involved with the child, found out what he liked to do. And it transpires that this young boy was very into space and spaceships and those sorts of things. So what the play specialist went and did was made a decoration within the MRI room so that the MRI scanner itself looked like a spaceship. And then, of course, the next time the child came along, they were delighted, very happy, and the scan went ahead. So Adrian completed the GREATIX form, and they met with the play specialist to say, well done, thank you for doing that, but actually, why don't we do that for everybody? So they looked at that, and now incorporating play into the MRI scanning and making it tailored for the individual child is become part of their standard operating procedure. So how are we going to do it at Derby? We're going to use GREATIX, which is something that's already embedded and up online now. So if you wish to submit a GREATIX about great care that you're seeing, if you search for, using the search term GREATIX on Flow, you'll come up with this page, hopefully. Here we are. So, and importantly, as well as accessing this at work, you can access this site outside of work. So I'm currently accessing this at home. And it will bring you up with this page. And it tells you a little bit about what GREATIX is and how to do it. So we simply click on Submit a GREATIX, and it takes us to this form. What we're asking you to fill in as who is the person or team that's achieved excellence, where do they work, if known, what's their email address, and what happened. And it's very important at this point to say that we should not include any patient identifiable information. Then key, what's the learning from this? And as a supplement to that, what are the things that you think that we can learn as an organisation or a trust that we can transfer to other areas, other departments? And then you fill in your email address and contact details. After you submit the GREATIX, that then comes to us at the GREATIX team, and we send an email to both the recipient and the sender. The GREATIX is then sent on to the person who's taken on responsibility for that department. So I know that in paediatrics, it's a named person will look at all the GREATIXs submitted that are relevant to paediatrics. If it's an issue with regards to foundation, generically, it'll come to me, and equally it'll go to Andy Tabner, Graham Johnson, if it's an ED issue. But there are people embedded throughout the trust who are going to be the named people that will lead on this. What they then do is look at that GREATIX and think, actually, is there learning that we can take from this? If it's something as simple as that somebody went above and beyond and stayed a bit later, or something like that, then maybe there isn't much learning to be gained from that, and it's simply a thank you. But actually, if there is some learning to be gained, what we'll conduct is what's called an IRIS meeting. And this is a fairly detailed and structured interview that often lasts up to about 45 minutes to an hour, using something called appreciative inquiry to try and delve a bit into this excellence, how it came about, why it came about, what was involved, and importantly, what are the transferable bits of learning that we can take to within the department and the wider areas within the trust. So GREATIX has been set up and running for a very short period of time now, and initially it was started off exclusively within the emergency department, but now we're wanting to launch it wider and trust-wide. And interestingly, it's already starting to grow, and word of mouth is starting to spread. And interestingly, other departments have already been doing it for a little while, we discovered when we went to a recent Learning from Excellence conference. But we're hoping that this video will prompt people to start to use GREATIX more and more, and it become something that's commonplace throughout the trust. If you've got any questions, please contact any of ourselves within the GREATIX team, or you can follow us on Twitter and interact with us. We are at Derby GREATIX. And if you want any more resources, want to learn a bit more about the Learning from Excellence and delve a bit deeper to see if it's something that you feel is suitable for you and your team, then you can go to this reference here at www.learningfromexcellence.com. Thank you for your time, thank you for listening, and if you've got any questions, please don't hesitate to get in touch with us. Thank you.